When life hands you a Molotov, make a mullet. Episode 1. We were sitting at Roosevelt Coffee House in Lewis Center, myself and a friend named Dustin, and we were just enjoying this conversation. He was telling me that him and his wife were expecting for the first time, and we were celebrating and just talking about how exciting that was and how great that was, and talking a little bit about church and kind of where we were average wise. And I got a text and it said, hey, what are you going to do about the shutdown? And I said, well, I don't think we're going to make a decision yet. And then I got a follow-up text, had a link, and it said that the Governor DeWine was announcing a shutdown. And we don't own our building. It's not our building, so we have to follow certain rules and certain codes. So we've been talking about this a little bit earlier, but that moment was pretty gut-wrenching. It was pretty hard. It was sinking. Our church was like on the upswing. We were doing really well. We were exceeding expectations for ourselves and for a lot of churches that were around us and were in similar stages. And so it was just gut-wrenching to watch that video and of his press conference. So we called the owner of the building, talked to them. I talked to our elders and spent basically the rest of the night and the next 2 days on the phone. And we were one of the very first churches to announce in Columbus, hey, we're going to go to online only for this Sunday. And I remember, a lot of people saying, hey, this is only going to last 14 days. This virus is it's going to get slowed down within 14 days and we'll be fine. But we didn't think that. We kind of thought this was going to be like an 18-month thing. And that was kind of the thought that I had and that the elders had. And we just started praying. Started really praying, asking God, hey, what's your plan in this? We're reaching people, we're seeing souls saved. What's the plan here? And it was interesting. It was really hard. It was a really tough announcement, a really tough decision. But the next day, we made a video and just announced to our whole church, hey, out of the abundance of caution. If you remember at that point, no one really knew anything about this virus. We were trying to get as much information as we could, but for us it was much more of a decision of we don't know enough info, so we're going to be extra cautious and make this decision now out of like the abundance of caution until we can know a little bit more. And I spent the next couple days on the phone with pastors from all over, all different sizes, denominations, walks, all different states. We spent I spent some time with people in Washington D.C. Just talking to them, like, hey, what's the president thinking? What's the leadership thinking? What are they projecting? And people in our state house as well, like, hey, what's the governor thinking? And at the end of the day, we made a really tough decision that we didn't know enough information. We didn't own the building. So we were going to shut down for a while. And I remember making it confidently and just privately being wrecked. Our church was doing a lot of really cool things right at that moment, and we were seeing a lot of people saved. We're seeing some really good, consistent, solid, healthy growth in our teams, in our groups, and in our church. It was just hard. It was a decision that I didn't see coming. That you didn't learn in college how to make a decision about shutting down during a pandemic. You didn't learn that. I didn't learn that in anything. There was no place that I went where I learned, okay, here's what you do if there's a pandemic. So I read a lot of history. I read about the early church. There was a pandemic in the early church times with Rome and what the early church did, and so I studied a lot of that. I studied a lot of what the church did, in right around 1918 when the Spanish flu was really bad, and it seemed like just about every 100 years there's this major plague, major pandemic. And we were comforted by the fact that the churches got through that before, but we were genuinely scared of what we were facing and what we would have to be doing. And so it was, man, not an easy decision, not an easy time. And people, were mad. People were really mad. People said we didn't have faith. They didn't understand that it wasn't necessarily our building. We could have still met, but we would have had to meet at another building. We would have had to meet outside. We debated doing the drive-in. We didn't feel like we had the infrastructure in place to do a drive-in consistently and do it really well. We debated that, but we just didn't think we could do it. And then we debated house churches. We thought, well, we're just going to break into groups of 10 or like 3 or 4 families. I'll preach, we'll do some worship, and then we'll have someone from the worship team play in each house, and we'll watch it all together. And that was a really good idea, I thought, but we didn't really have we didn't feel a peace as an elder team and as the leadership team and as a staff about putting people in each other's houses, because we just didn't know enough about the virus. So we chose to go online, and I was very sad. I was very, very defeated for a while. Fortunately, Josh Kelly, who's got wisdom beyond his years, made a video with me, and Brian Sanchez came. He's got wisdom beyond his years and patience, and they were a huge help. We made our first church video. Chuck Van Sickle came and filmed it, and Josh and I talked, and then Brian led like an extended long period of prayer for people, and those guys really helped me. I don't know if they knew how much they helped me. I try to play it really cool, like Cool Hand Luke, but I don't know if I was able to or not. I was like real confident, we're gonna do this, and inside just turmoil. So yeah, that's episode 1 of When Life Hands You a Molotov Cocktail, Make a Mullet.